this is kind of the big one, right? It's like, where should I live? Really, the way to look at this is you guys have to ask yourself, how much can I afford, right? This is the biggest thing. Like I said, I'm a big finance guy. You guys have to really look at your numbers. If you guys don't look at your numbers, you're going to follow where all the sheep are going. I don't believe Americans are living the way they should be. I don't believe that they are handling their finances the way we should be handling our finances. So just because everybody's maxing out their pre-approvals, that does not mean that you guys should be maxing out your pre-approvals, okay? So the question you guys have to first ask is, how much can I afford? So what you guys have to know this number. What is your total gross income? I'm sure you guys already know. And then break it down monthly. So what are your total expenses? Are you guys budgeting? For me, guys, I budget meticulously. I budget every single penny. Doesn't matter how much money I make, I budget every single penny because it's vitally important. So in this scenario, you can kind of see in the picture how much your monthly mortgage payments would be based off $1 million home. Okay, at $150,000 down payment, that's 15% down. At 3% interest rate and at 30-year fixed mortgage, your payments are going to be at about $4,076. Okay. So if you want to buy $1 million home and at those terms, at 15% down, your income has to be at $174,726. Okay. So just keep that in mind. Make that kind of your gauge. But I would actually do this calculation to make sure you guys know what you guys can actually afford. Because typically, this is the general rule, and I would follow these rules, right? I wouldn't follow, because lenders are going to borrow you the money. Lenders say you can borrow up to 49% of your debt to income ratio. Don't follow those things, okay? Don't follow what the herd is doing, because I don't believe they're doing the right thing. You don't want to exceed 28% of your gross income, guys. So just keep that in mind. 28%. That's kind of the rule. So the one thing I'll say about this is consider cohabitation, okay? So especially if you guys are single, consider cohabitation. So what that means is basically if you can afford buying a home on the east side, I would buy the home and rent out the rooms to your friends and your family. Okay, so you can help subsidize a lot of the mortgage. But if you're single and you have some friends who also want to invest in real estate, I would put your monies together and I would buy a home together and I would just share the room, just so you can get into this market. And you guys can buy, like, if you guys all share your incomes, you guys can probably buy like a $2 million home easily. At least then you guys can build equity, and at the same time, you'll have a nice home to live in. So consider that, seriously. It may sound crazy in this culture where we're all individualistic, but I'm telling you, you have to do things differently here. The other thing I would suggest, and this is actually something that I taught in my other Microsoft investment class, is go buy a multifamily. Go buy a fourplex out in Redmond and live in every one of the units. That way you guys can build your equity, fix up the place, and you guys all own like your individual areas. That's also a very good strategy. Now, if you have a family, then obviously, go buy a single family home. It wouldn't be appropriate. If you are married with, and are about to have kids, then I would just buy a single family home or a townhome. So once you have established how much you could afford, right, you should have a number. You literally should talk to your lender and you should be able to literally come up with your max limit, and don't even think about exceeding that limit. Once you have that limit, I don't care how emotional you guys are and how much you want the home, it's the best home in the world, don't exceed that limit. It's not worth living paycheck to paycheck, okay? So once you've established that, then you have to ask yourself, this is the number one thing you have to ask yourself post-COVID, is do I have to live in Washington, right? Truthfully, guys, if it were me and if I can choose, I actually would not live in Washington if I don't have to work at the Microsoft campus. Reason being is I would rather move to Texas, buy a $300,000 home, 3,000 square feet, 4 bedrooms, 2 baths, and I would use the rest of that money in the down payment to basically buy multifamilies, invest in real estate. I'm a big investment guy, and I would basically invest in real estate and then within 10 years become financially free through your investments and not actually have to work anywhere. Okay, that's what I would do. So the question is, do you have to live in Washington? I know Microsoft is looking into that. They just made that announcement that some of you guys will only have to go into the office 25% of the time. Some of you guys don't even have to go into the office. Consider that. Secondly, if you are going to live in Washington, then can you live in Tacoma, right? Can you live in North, right, where it's a lot cheaper and you can get a lot more house? You might want to consider that. The other thing is, where is work for you guys? So it's Microsoft, right? I just kind of if you look at some of these maps, I did it based off the Microsoft campus. I believe it's building C that I did. But some of you guys obviously work in Bellevue and some of these other areas. So where is work? So what I did was, you can kind of see, and I can send these to you, the 45-minute mark. How long would a 45-minute commute in the morning where there's traffic, how long would it take to get to work and then out of work, right? So it can go all the way to like Snohomish, Mill Creek area. You can go all the way to like Snoqualmie if you're going to go 45 minutes away. You could even go into West Seattle, Northwest Seattle, and still be able to make it within the 45-minute range. Now, 30-minute range, it's a little bit closer. Now we're talking like Woodinville, Bothell, Ames Lake, which is really East Redmond. You can go even a little bit south to like Issaquah and Sammamish. And then 20 minutes if you want to be, if you guys want to be really close, that's like basically Kirkland. That's basically Bellevue, okay? My suggestion to you guys is, honestly, I'd rather save some money, pay for less. I would go to like Duval for you guys and do the commute. It's going to be a pain in the butt, but you get way more home out there. You guys won't have to pay an inordinate amount of money to be able to get into a home and overpay for a home out here on the east, the main areas of the east side. So the other thing you have to then consider is for your commute is like, do you have kids? Because if you're planning on having kids, or you have kids, school districts are also important. So that does mean that you're going to have to pay for that premium. So the question is, how important are the school districts for you, right? You can go to Marysville, but you're not going to get the same schooling as you would in the main areas of the east side, like Redmond, where it's top-ranked schools, okay? So the last thing for you guys to consider is appreciation versus comfort. I would honestly choose appreciation over comfort of being able to be within 20 minutes of work. Go to places like Tacoma, which is appreciating like crazy. Actually, main areas of the King County is actually starting to slow down, whereas Tacoma is like blowing up, and it probably has more room to appreciate than our area. So